Social media has been humming with a tension that fans claim they haven't experienced since the early days of hip-hop and romance. The same thing is being whispered everywhere you turn. There's a problem between Mendeecees and Yandy. Although no official statement has been made, the way several videos, remarks, and responses have been going around, it is impossible for viewers not to wonder if the pair is on the verge of a moment they never anticipated. Additionally, the internet focused on every word like detectives trying to decipher a secret message. When Mendeecees revealed a level of candor in a recent podcast chat that caught everyone off guard, some fans claim he sounded worn out. Many believe that this is the first real indication that the marriage may be entering a period that no one anticipated, while others believe he sounded defeated. It took time for the tension to begin. On the internet, people draw attention to minor signs, nuanced facial expressions, and remarks that, while seemingly innocuous at the time, now seem to be part of a larger narrative. Subsequently, Mendeecees acknowledged that there are moments when he doesn't even enjoy Yandy, but she is still treated with respect. That stunned folks. Not because marriages don't have difficult times, but rather because it was shocking to hear someone who has always stood up for his family say something so unvarnished. The space felt different as a result. Fans went into a frenzy about it. Thousands of people have the same question. What precisely goes on behind the scenes? The rumors grew louder when more of the conversation's clips appeared online. He appeared to be a man bearing more weight than he was prepared to talk about, according to viewers. Additionally, when he discussed pressure, loudness, and the internet quickly made the connection, highlighting the significance of solving problems away from the public view. Everyone began to question whether this was really a passing storm or the beginnings of something far more dangerous. His suggestion that he and Yandy are beginning a new chapter was the strongest spark, but declined to specify what exactly that chapter is. Everyone was drawn in by that one instant because it was no longer just rumors. It was like a true change. For a while, fans thought that whatever storms came and passed in Mendeecees and Yandy's life, there was a moment when even the most ardent followers stopped scrolling and asked themselves, wait, is something actually going on here? Every time, the two would eventually return to the same location. They were perceived by others as a couple who had endured too much, healed too much, and persevered too much to allow anything to rock their foundation at this point. However, even their most devoted admirers have noticed a change in intensity lately. The kind of change that doesn't result from a single altercation or debate, but with a gradual emotional detachment that eventually makes the quiet seem louder than the words. People saw more than just his responses when they watched that recent online discussion. The weight of his speech was palpable, the sort of weight that caused everyone to pause and reflect. Perhaps there is more going on here. And one is, of course, claiming to know the whole truth. The reactions, the tone, the timing, and the manner particular things have transpired in public are all contributing factors to everything that is currently going viral. Additionally, the image that emerges when viewers combine all those elements is no longer as distinct or reassuring as it once was. Those who have followed the couple's journey for years have experienced a mixture of curiosity, dread, and unusual grief at the thought that they may be entering a difficult chapter. The way Mendeecees talked about pressure, loudness, and the need to save his children and his mind struck everyone even more forcefully. It didn't sound like the kind of security a man talks about when things are quiet at home. It sounded more like the survival mode that a person goes into when things become too difficult to manage normally. He said that sometimes he doesn't even like Yandy, but still tries to respect her, a statement that continued coming up in fan debates. Nobody anticipated him to talk so candidly, so just one sentence alone sent the internet into a whirlwind of emotions. Was not upset. It was not trivial. It wasn't sour. It sounded almost like tiredness, as if someone had been struggling to keep things together for so long that their displeasure was beginning to show. It was made even more poignant by the way he spoke so composedly. It feels more genuine than any heated disagreement ever could when someone speaks with that degree of composed honesty. However, this was more than one line. People started observing his body language, the length of time he took to think, and the way his eyes moved in response to specific inquiries. Online viewers noted that he kept coming back to the notion of solving problems in private. He kept saying things like, take things at their own pace, avoid external pressure, and protect the kids. It was not protective. It wasn't condescending. It was thoughtful. and the contemplation made some question whether the two have been dealing with problems that nobody could have predicted. However, there hasn't been a biased response. Yandy's supporters have also been vocal, highlighting how, even in the most turbulent parts of their tale, she has always maintained her composure and strength. A few fans think she may be suppressing a lot more than she displays, attempting to manage her own emotions while maintaining the stability of the family. Some have gone so far as to say that the manner she has been quieter lately feels strange, as if she is choosing silence not because she doesn't care, but rather because she doesn't want to exacerbate an already delicate situation. A surge of conjecture has been generated by that silence, with many questioning whether she's shielding her kids, her heart, or just staying away from the seemingly to go over each little aspect of their lives. People create whole hypotheses based on even the slightest indication of stress, since the online world has its own imagination. There are discussions about whether their differences have been intensifying in the background. Some believe they have been attempting to heal emotional scars that have never completely healed. Others feel that external factors such as public expectations and corporate pressures have been bearing down on them. Additionally, Mendeecees' discussion of the thoughts of strangers regarding the couple's decision to remain together or part ways fueled the notion that the couple may be experiencing conflict between their private lives and their public personas. The statement that they are starting a new chapter was one of the items that attracted the most attention. Describe the actual meaning of that chapter. All potential interpretations were made possible by that. After so many years of upheaval, fans questioned whether this new chapter is about healing, parting ways, rebuilding, making room, or just discovering what love looks like. People are constantly speculating about it because when someone declines to define a chapter, it typically indicates they themselves are unsure of the shape it will take. There's also the emotional component, which is impossible to overlook. People on the internet frequently commented that he didn't sound like a man discussing momentary stress because of the way he talked about life taking unexpected turns and how he described some instances as some of the hardest times of his life. It sounded like someone trying to make a decision while standing at a crossroads. Before moving on, make sense of everything. Simple disputes do not lead to such circumstances. They result from intense introspection, emotional tiredness, and the understanding that something needs to change before progress can be made. Fans have been responding to all of this in various ways. Some are devastated, claiming that they saw this marriage develop from the beginning and never thought they would get to this stage. Some are more impartial, stating that there are storms in every relationship. Perhaps this is only one of those stages. However, there is another group that is truly nervous, concerned that the silence on both sides is about something more serious that they are not yet ready to discuss in public, rather than just privacy. And on every social media site where their names are mentioned, this worry has resulted in ongoing conversations, ideas, and arguments. Fans' concerns for the children have also grown significantly. People have been thinking about how committed both parents are to their family and how hard they have always worked to provide a stable atmosphere. Thus, Mendeecees, everyone paused when they talked about insulating their kids from outside negativity and safeguarding their minds. It served as a reminder that young lives are watching everything play out behind the headlines, conjecture, manipulated videos, and public narratives. People feel as though they are watching a moment that could completely change the course of the family's future as the topic gains traction. Nobody is aware of what goes on behind closed doors. However, the mix of both sides' peaceful distance, emotional weight, and candid honesty has produced a barrage of inquiries that don't appear to be abating anytime soon. And as each day goes by, the interest intensifies, drawing more attention to whatever this new chapter may be in the family's future course. As their surroundings grew more intense, as the days went by and the discourse extended, more people started bringing up past experiences that all of a sudden seemed to have a different significance. Fans began watching videos from previous seasons, interviews, appearances on the red carpet, and even little social media moments that seemed insignificant at first, but now appeared to be indicators of something more profound lurking beneath the surface. The timeline was inundated with comments from those who claimed to have observed a change in their chemistry months ago, but didn't consider it a lot. Others claimed that they had always believed that both of them had been bearing emotional burdens for a long time, but they had attempted to conceal them for the benefit of their families and public personas. Every little thing becomes a hint if viewers adopt that perspective. Every glance turns into an implicit message. Every pause turns into an intensely emotional moment. Some online detectives even noted how their posts grew more individualized rather than collective, how their smiles appeared different in recent pictures, and how their energy together wasn't as synchronized as it once was. Any partnership, however, may have times when they concentrate on their individual paths. In the realm of celebrity relationships, even seemingly insignificant changes can spark intense conjecture. People began to question if they had been fighting covertly to maintain equilibrium. However, the strain of continuous focus has gradually forced them into a place where they must take a breath before continuing. Fans also frequently brought up the concepts of pride and vulnerability. Some people think that they are both strong personalities. Therefore, it becomes extremely difficult when two strong individuals attempt to manage a family, run enterprises, raise children, and remain under constant public observation. Supporters began talking about how they had always been viewed as leaders both within and outside of their household. Additionally, when two leaders experience emotional upheavals at the same moment, it can result in a complex stillness that neither of them wants to break first, because they are attempting to avoid saying something they might later regret, rather than because they don't care. Numerous admirers talked about their personal experiences, stating that they could see the same signs of emotional tiredness in their facial expressions that they had experienced during difficult times in their own relationships. Thousands of viewers, particularly those who had followed them since the beginning and were engaged in their journey, were moved by that connection. Some even claimed that the interview brought back memories of times when couples attempt to love one another but forget how to communicate without allowing the outside world to get in the way. It sparked a discussion that went well beyond the pair, starting conversations about the detrimental effects of public pressure on personal relationships, particularly when both partners are continuously juggling demands they never requested. As all of this was going on, social media sites started to fill with comments from fans who were unsure whether to cheer them on, worry about them, condemn them, or just wish for clarification. According to some, Mendeecees sounded like a man attempting to maintain composure despite his overwhelmed heart. He appeared disoriented, uncertain, and emotionally worn out, according to others, which led the audience to conjecture even more. Then there were those who insisted that people should stop delving too deeply into matters and thought that whatever he and Yandy were going through was none of anyone's business, might not have any long-term significance. However, the most important discussion was sparked by the mixed emotions he evoked when discussing their upcoming chapter. People couldn't decide between two readings. One group saw it as a sign that they were rebuilding, developing, and getting ready to deepen their bond. The other group thought he was getting fans ready for something more serious and potentially painful, but could be inevitable if the situation had gotten to the point where change was the only thing left to do. Everyone was thrown into a tornado of emotions by this uncertainty, particularly since he made no indication as to whether this chapter would strengthen or weaken their bond. Fans started seeing how their friends and family were responding amid all the online chaos. Some of their loved ones sent inspirational sayings and phrases about emotional boundaries, healing, growth, and patience. The pair was not specifically referenced in any of these posts. However, the timing was suspect enough that many questioned whether they were covert displays of support. However, few others in their social circle shared humorous messages about the value of forgiving others, communicating, and prioritizing peace above pride. Fans were left even more perplexed by these posts, which raised the question of whether the messages were connected or random to a background activity taking place. The idea that the pair might be experiencing unfamiliar internal stresses, however, was one item that genuinely unsettled everyone. Some internet discussions changed from being merely curious to expressing genuine concern that this could be the couple's worst emotional breakup to date. Conversations began to arise about whether their years of devotion, selflessness, and collaboration could endure a chapter full of emotional boundaries, unresolved pain, and misinterpreted emotions. Not only that, but neither of them came forth to address the issue, leaving the public with more quiet than responses. New theories, some more dramatic than others, surfaced as viewers proceeded to analyze each puzzle piece. The suggestion that the pair might be attempting to determine whether time apart could help them restore emotional clarity was one that was widely discussed. The interview's tone, according to some admirers, suggested that someone was getting ready for tough talks and choices. Others disagreed. claiming that the tone revealed a man who was trying desperately to keep everything together but was unsure of how to communicate his dissatisfaction. Additionally, there was increasing conjecture regarding whether they had been working so hard on their own that they had inadvertently drifted apart. People mentioned their personal projects, their recent schedules, and the ongoing stress of running a family in the public eye. Even the strongest partnerships can lose their rhythm when life becomes too much, according to supporters. Love persists at those times, but communication begins to deteriorate, resulting in an emotional distance that both parties experience but find difficult to articulate. The intensity of the feelings increased with the amount of conversation. Fans were protective of the marriage, their kids, and the narrative that they had been following for years. Viewers were uneasy about the possibility that things might be changing, which made them look for solutions everywhere they could. But all they discovered that the identical hints appeared in several timelines. Without providing any consolation, each one keeps asking more questions. The couple's failure to respond to the rumors during all of this turmoil became a mystery in and of itself. Some admirers saw the silence as an indication that they were attempting to maintain their composure while resolving their problems in private. Others interpreted the stillness as proof that things might be more severe than they first seemed. Everyone was aware that at least one of them would have shared a simple moment from their day or posted something light if things were stable. However, the internet seemed to be holding its breath, waiting for the next move, due to the dearth of activity. The emotional exchanges sparked by the interview have taken over the timeline, despite the fact that no one knows what's actually going on behind closed doors. The audience is caught between fear and hope, uncertain of whether to anticipate tragedy or healing, and uncertain of whether this chapter will be a turning point or a breaking point. And as time goes on, people's interest increases, leaving them to wonder what kind of truth might be emerging in the shadows. As the silence persisted, and neither of them moved to break the silence, the world continued to speculate. The tension surrounding the situation increased. When someone close to them spoke online, fans who were already nervous and emotionally committed started to notice even the smallest changes in tone.